Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Rotary Club of Gainesville Tuesday meeting at the Cade. Please be sure to silence your cell phones, and if you're watching on YouTube, please register your participation by sending an email to info@rotarygainesville.org. Please join me in welcoming Pete Enwall to lead us in song and pledge.
Some of you have noticed that I'm beginning to walk funny, and you commented, and so I went to a podiatrist this morning, and she says she's given me hope that I will soon experience the thrill of victory with my feet, but I'm going to have to give up suffering the agony of defeat. Okay, so we're going to sing Acapulco, God Bless America. Can we do that? Okay. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the night from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Whew, that's great. Okay, would you join me in pledging allegiance to our flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pete. And now for our invocation, Lori Vidal.
Wow, it's chilly in here. I'm an old Florida boy here. I'm not used to this. Let's pray together. So many of us in this room today are so blessed to have been taught in our school experiences to read well, and are so blessed to have parents who encouraged our reading. The greatest memories of childhood for many of us are going to our school libraries and community libraries to simply immerse ourselves in the wealth of books available. For whatever our interest, setting us free to go and grow in learning. Thank you for the opportunity today to specifically pray for those who have not had someone who invested in their lives the reading skills that are crucial to set people free, to become all they can be because they can read. Encourage those who have the task of spreading literacy to all those in need. And help us right now to allow ourselves to meditate on what our lives would be if we could not read. I pray with a thankful but a heavy heart, Father, for those who cannot read. Amen.
Please be seated. We invite all of our guests and traveling Rotarians to remain standing so you can be introduced to our club.
I have the microphone for that. We'll start up front.
Who's introducing? John, you introduce?
Today we have the Rotary Club from the university. We have Jacob, Andrew, and Kate.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Connie and Bob Crane all the way from Iowa. By the way, it's about 8 below up there right now.
That's it. It's -55 in Fargo.
I'm Mary Crane, Rotarian, and I have two guests Terry and Ted Prince, and Terry is a social worker for Shands, and Ted is a business consultant, and he also, Darren and him went to China together, right?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, I just want to add that I used to spend a lot of time in China, which sometimes may be a good or not a good thing, but I found it very good. I learned a lot of stuff there, and I'm still very interested in it because it's a way of finding out what's going on in the world. And we all need to do that, right? To get to know people better and live in peace and harmony. Thank you.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. My guest today is Nancy Short. She is the new Director of Community Relations with St. Francis House, and she's interested in membership. So,
Anybody else?
Last chance. Anybody else? Thank you all. Welcome.
All right, and now joining us at the podium is Linda Reinhardt.
Hello, everybody. Just again, another reminder, service above self. We have gotten a couple of nominations, but we want to be sure that we're getting as many as possible. After I left our last meeting, telling you guys about the award, I realized that this is the 40th year that we have presented the Service Above Self Award. So it's been a long-standing tradition, and again, we want to recognize those who do great service in our community. So please, if you need an application, shoot me an email. I'll be sending out reminders again. February 14th is the deadline. Second announcement, I'm going to introduce our members from Rotaract. Some of you may remember we used to sponsor the UF Rotaract Club, but it dissolved during COVID. So I've had the opportunity to work with some really energetic and great students, and they have got it officially reestablished at the University of Florida. So they're going to tell you about some of the stuff they've got going on.
Hi, I'm Cadence. I am the president of the University of Florida Rotaract Club, or we call it the Gator Rotaract Club. This is our treasurer, Jacob, and then our recruitment and involvement coordinator and volunteer service coordinator, Andrew. So as Linda said, we're official now, so we're very excited about that. We've gotten to do some service projects already. We did the cleanup with one of the Rotary clubs just this Saturday, right? And then we did hurricane relief in Cedar Key with the Monday Club, as well as their Ronald McDonald House, where we got to cook for the families that live at Ronald McDonald House. We currently have 19 members in our Discord. That's how we've been keeping track and communicating with our members. And we're also going to have our interest meeting this Thursday at 4, so that's very exciting. But yeah, that's pretty much all. I just wanted to let you guys know like where your money's going because you're sponsoring us. So yeah.
And for our final update and announcement today, we have Ernie Hall.
I will make, woo, God, that's a hot mic. I'm a preacher. I don't need a mic usually. I wanted to provide an update for the club. Christmas is long past us, but I want to thank the club, first of all, for taking time out at the kettles in front of Publix to raise money for the Salvation Army. You raised $1,157 on that day. That's a great deal of money for any one kettle. We don't get that kind of money. So I want to applaud your work. The only way the Salvation Army exists to be able to help folks are those who make donations. and particularly at our kettles when a volunteer group is out there, 100% of that income goes back into serving those we serve. I'm not paying a salary for it. So we appreciate you. And next year, we're going to try to get a competition between our club and other clubs in town so you can raise the most money. That's a lofty goal to tell them that they can try to shoot for. And in the end, those who win are the folks that I'm able to serve. So thank you again for your service, and I'm proud to be part of this club. God bless.
Now I'll invite Greg Young up to the podium to introduce a new member craft talk.
Well, thank you. Today, I'd like to introduce a new member to give his craft talk, Ali Abbasi. He's originally from Pakistan and moved to Gainesville in October 2023. He previously lived in London and Karachi, Pakistan for 30 years. He is a chartered accountant by profession and has engaged in running his own business for the past few years. As an entrepreneur, Ali has successfully managed several businesses across a variety of industries. He comes from a family of Rotarians. Both his parents were active members of the Rotary clubs. Ali himself served as treasurer for the Rotary Club of Karachi for 4 years. And with that, I would like to bring Ali to come to the mic. Ali, come on up.
Good afternoon, all. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I hope you guys find it interesting. Like Greg said, I am from Pakistan. For those of you who might not be familiar with the geography, it's in South Asia, wedged between India, China, Afghanistan, Iran, and the Arabian Sea. I was born in Lahore. Lahore has 4,000 years of history. I can't comment on that claim, but I know friends who have lived in Lahore for 500 years, their families, and often in the same neighborhood. And I have visited temples in this region which are from 7th century BCE. So 2,500 years out of that 4,000 is almost touchable. This picture here is Wazir Khan Mosque, built in 1640. At the background, you can see the old city of Lahore. My own house, where I grew up, was maybe a 5 to 10 minute drive from this place. My family then moved to Karachi. Karachi is a port city. It's the commercial capital of Pakistan. It's a city of 20 million people. It's dirty. It's crowded. But it's a lot of fun. I've met some of the most, inspiring business people here, made some lasting friends here, learned a lot. And then I was shipped off to England, where I did my bachelor's degree in economics. And I did my chartered accountancy from the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales. This is the first time I met an American. And the first thing she asked me, and I wasn't sure whether it's a joke or not, she said, "Oh, you're from Pakistan. Do you guys have running water there?" And I didn't know what to say, so I gave the only logical answer. I said, "No, we don't. I'm eternally grateful for the first world luxuries." And for the next 1 year, we spoke about that joke, and I still don't know whether it was a joke or was a serious question. So I left it at that. This building here is by the way, this is the commercial capital, commercial district of Karachi, and my office was somewhere on that street. This building is the headquarters of the ICAW since 1893. London was home for the next 15 years of my life. I worked with various organizations, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, KPMG. Private equity was all the craze at that time, and we did these due diligence reports for private equity houses, advising them on their buy and sell transactions. There were these 300-page reports. I don't think anybody ever read them, but worked many a nights to pull those together and make sure the I's were dotted and T's were crossed. I then did investment banking with the Dutch bank, ABN AMRO. In the UK, it got nationalized. I don't know whether it exists or not, but we used to invest the bank's money in distressed assets. So it was intense, and we thought we were the cutting edge of the finance world at that time. The next 15 years from then, I lived between Karachi and London, doing my own business, did stock brokerage, wealth management for high net worths. For my sins, and I can tell you if anybody has invested in restaurants, if you want your sins washed away, invest in a restaurant. It'll happen very, very fast. You will go straight to heaven, no questions asked. And all those sleepless nights, it's perfect for washing away sins. I sell Harley Davidsons in Karachi. The business is still run by my partners. I would have loved to show you some of the rides that we have done with Harley Davidsons in Pakistan, but 3 minutes wouldn't allow for that. And then I own a digital marketing agency. So in the US, our business is called OmniReach Marketing. We are a full service digital marketing agency. We can do websites, campaign designs, anything digital, logo design, whatever, content creation. You can look at us up. That's our website, omnireachmarketing.com. And then as I was writing these, I was thinking, what am I doing here? And the answer very simply is my wife in September 2023 decided that she wanted to be close to her family, who are dotted around the U.S. I agreed. We have some democracy in our family. I chose Florida as opposed to California and Gainesville because it's a safe 30-minute distance from the nearest sister-in-law. Town, and I like the pace of life. And most importantly now, why I'm here, Rotary is the only platform that I know that you can connect with people to serve the community. And I will be reaching out to some of you soon enough to, figure out a meaningful serving the community project. Thank you very much. Seven. One wife, just to clarify.
Ollie, thank you very much. Appreciate you sharing your story with us, and welcome to the club. I present you with the 4-way test Rotary plaque.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ollie, we're excited to have you in our club. And now please welcome our president, Ryan Thompson.
All right. That's a sign of a good sergeant at arms. She covers up for you when you leave your agenda at the table. Thank you. Ernie, thank you very much for that update. I think we would, love to have a little competition with the other clubs. That sounds exciting. We are looking for help with the student speech contest. Mike Conroy has been running this program for over a dozen years, and he's looking for some help this year. So if you're interested, please see me as soon as possible so we can get that rolling. I think we all really enjoy and are impressed by the talent that we witness when they come and deliver their speeches. So please come see me. Tonight is labeling for the dictionaries. I think we got the labeling covered, but we are still looking for people to help deliver those dictionaries to the schools. So if you're interested in that, John Thomas is helping me coordinate that. So please let him know. Rotaract. It's wonderful to have the University of Florida Rotaractors here with us today. Really appreciate that. The Rotaract Young Professionals Group is having a social new member recruiting event. If you haven't heard about it already, First Magnitude, February 4th from 6 to 8 p.m. If you have any young professionals, either in your business or your family, please have them reach out to me and we'll get them set up or let them know about February 4th at First Magnitude. All right. Eric Atria. Is Eric here? Hey, Eric. I just want to congratulate you on your award from the Florida Bar. Eric was awarded the Pro Bono Service Award. Well done. Thank you. Appreciate what you do. All right. With that, I will invite Chris Cano to introduce today's speaker.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. It's my honor to introduce our speaker today. So Leah Galione is a proud University of Florida alumna and has been deeply rooted in Gainesville for over 30 years with her husband Bill and their 5 children. Leah is the founder and executive director of Peak Literacy, a local nonprofit. In the past 5 years, she has recruited and trained more than 300 volunteers to teach over 400 kids how to read. I was one of those volunteers with Peak Literacy, working with a student over the summer, which was very rewarding. Peak Literacy is currently serving 175 local youth. Leah's passion for educational equity drives her involvement on boards like GNV Thrives, Intersection Education, the Steering Committee for Books and Cooks, and Alachua County's Comprehensive Literacy Committee. In her spare time, Leah enjoys reading, volunteering at UFPA, teaching aqua classes at Gainesville Health and Fitness, and taking beach trips with her family. Welcome, Leah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. So today I'm going to speak about fostering literacy through community engagement. And this is one of my favorite quotes. We were talking about quotes over here by Fred Rogers. And a lot of times when I go into speaking engagements, I have to preface with, you might not know this is Fred Rogers. I think in this crowd, we all, y'all hopefully are familiar with Mr. Rogers, but he says, we live in a world in which we need to share responsibility. It's easy to say it's not my child, not my community, not my problem. And then there are those who see the need and respond, and I consider those people my heroes. And I chose to start with that today because I'm not starting with a room of people that don't value giving back to their community. I know you as Rotarians, that is at the core of what you do. And so it's a little bit different starting place than when I go and speak in other audiences that don't value that. So first I want to say thank you for all the service that you've done in our community before me and long after me. So appreciate you all. So I want to talk a little bit about the problem that we're facing here, the crisis in Alachua County, not just here, but also nationwide. Our village model that we've developed, and then some success stories and impact, and then just share with you how you might become involved. So the NEKC Foundation says that 83% of low-income children cannot read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade. And when kids can't read, we all lose. You can Google about any negative outcome for kids, for adults, and it all leads back to low literacy rates. So this is a graph of the racial achievement gap in the state of Florida. And out of the 67 counties in Florida, Alachua County has the highest racial achievement gap. This is not just this year, last year, this is a long-standing gap that there have been many efforts at lowering that gap. And so this is with, depending on which metric you're looking at, top 5 university, top 3 university. We have more than 80,000 college students in this county. We've got a world-class hospital, but yet our racial achievement gap is still the highest in the state. This is last year's 2022-23 reading on grade level by race ethnicity. So it's not just, this is not just a race issue. A lot of this has to do with economics, but you can see by far there's gaps across all races when it comes to literacy in our county. And so the question I'd like to pose is that if we're not impacting change, then we have to change what we're doing, right? We've all heard that definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And so we know what's not working. We have to find something else that does. So what peak literacy does, peak stands for providing equitable access for kids. And so our approach to helping the illiteracy crisis is that it takes a village. So peak was started almost 5 years ago. We started with 15 kids in a low-income neighborhood working in person. And that was January 2020. And we all know about what happened after that. 6 weeks later, everything shut down, right? And so I had to rethink, how am I going to do this? And so I learned Zoom and figured out everything, how to do it, and then realized, wait a second, this is kind of genius because a tutor can be at home working with a kid, and the child can be at home where they're not being pulled out of class, missing key things that they're getting in school, and we can increase reading scores this way. And so we've been able to scale our model really quickly. Like Chris said, we're currently serving 175 students. And that happens a few different ways, which I'll share in a few minutes. But this really is kind of a community effort. We don't pay our tutors, we use volunteers. And that's really important that it stays that way for me, because I think when communities come together around a certain issue that is as crucial as illiteracy, it affects our entire community, right? Those of you that own businesses, there's one of our supporters runs a fast food restaurant. When he came to Gainesville, he realized recipes weren't coming out right. What's going on? They couldn't read the recipes. So it affects all of us in many different ways. And so what we've found is that it does not take reading experts to teach kids to read, right? So there are things that you need experts to do, and then there are things that we don't need experts to do. And so if we can kind of take that load off of teachers, literacy professionals so that they can focus on the things that we can't do, then we are able to remediate a large number of kids that just need that little extra step in reading to get them where they need to be. Volunteers, where do they come from? Everywhere, anywhere and everywhere. I'm going to show you a video that Chris actually produced for us about our volunteers. Do we have volume? Isn't that Chris? We might have. Let me go back and see if we can start that over.
I think that working one-on-one to someone, like creating that relationship with someone, I think that's really meaningful.
Peak literacy is a very good experience for me, for my resume, for future jobs, and even for college. They'll see that I'm helping people out and just trying to make the world a better place.
Being able to help kids in their early years makes a big difference.
Peak literacy one online tutoring to help kids achieve grade level reading so that they have the tools they need to succeed.
It's simple to use and simple for them to see their progress too.
I feel happy when I do the tutoring sessions.
Our reading lessons are only 15 minutes.
It's a very short amount of time to make a huge difference. A world without reading is just hard to fathom.
As peak literacy expands and grows, I think that more students will have like this lifelong success. Without the volunteers, this would not be possible.
It's so worth it to volunteer here because it's just a very great opportunity.
There's so many problems in the world. You can't fix everything, but you can make a difference for one or two or three. And that encourages me, makes me feel good.
So like I said, we have 16-year-old, we have high school students that start at 16, we have retired teachers, we have everywhere and anywhere in between. And so we currently have 3 interns from UF. We're a qualified work-study site, so we take work-study students to work in groups with training some volunteers. And so we they'll get my presentation back up, that's fine. And so we do it in a multitude of ways. So originally, like I said, we started doing online because that was all we could do. And then we started having some success, and we had some teachers and some principals go, hey, I heard about you. We've never seen these reading scores increase. What are you doing? So we do not use our own program. This is nothing I made up. We use a program that's been around for years and years. It's used in school districts worldwide, called Great Leaps. Maybe some of you have heard of it. If you've been in the school systems in any other place but Florida, you may have heard of it. But it's an evidence-based. The special education teachers at UF have been trained in Great Leaps for years. We use their program. It's very simple, very easy to use. I have the data at my fingertips so I can see where kids start, where they end, if lessons were actually done and completed. So we have a really good system of accountability and kids' progress. So this program is done in after-school programs. We are currently have a grant from the city of Gainesville to work in Pine Ridge, which is a low-income community, and then we're going into Phoenix subdivision after school with the Gun Violence Initiative. We work in 2 schools. We're in Stephen Foster Elementary and Shell Elementary. Both of those are currently unfunded. We're looking for sponsors for that. And then we also work with kids at home. Lessons can be done virtually or in person. The lessons are 15 minutes a day, 4 days a week. You hop online, you get online with the student, you do the lesson, and it's called high dosage tutoring. High dosage tutoring is proven to be 15 times more effective than any other form of instruction. And so that's what we use. Outcomes, what are our outcomes? So these are our fluency scores. This is from a select group of kids. You can see these are the gains that we have. Typically, we'll see about 1.2 years of growth in the first 3 months. And what we know from our data speaks, right? When we see, and we compare this with the Great Leaps national data so that we're making sure our kids are making the same progress along which the rest of the students have done traditionally with Great Leaps. And so you see these huge gains, and people say, "Oh, I can't believe the kids are making this progress." Look, this is not like revolutionary, right? Kids learn best when kids struggle with reading. What they need is one-on-one instruction. Gone are the days in schools like when you and I grew up. Probably in school, everybody you just got what you needed. There was more time. There was not as many high stakes testing going on. And so there was time to do a little bit more one-on-one. It is not like that in the schools. And so us coming in as a resource to provide the kids who are struggling with that one-to-one intervention that is catered to their reading level is super, super helpful for the schools and then also the parents. This was really interesting. The red lines are our middle school data. So a lot of time, energy, finances go into reading before 3rd grade. Middle school, our middle school students most of the time jump higher than our elementary school students more quickly. I could go through graphs. I'm kind of like a data nerd, so I could kind of go through graphs all day. But we have these things on our website, and you're welcome to ask me anything. I love talking about data. But our impact, we were fortunate this summer to have an evaluation done, funded through the Children's Trust, and we were able to really capture our impact of what's happening with our students, both from our family's perspective, from the educator's perspective, and from our volunteers. So how can you help? So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is not doing Band-Aid solutions, right? So there's lots of different efforts out there in our community, right? And I'm on the board of Gainesville Thrives, who gives books to kids and Books and Cooks, and books are great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I also am passionate about calling what we're doing, like being honest about what we're doing. Putting books in kids' homes does not teach them to read, okay? It gives them books in their homes, which they may or may not be used. And that may be because their parents might not be able to read. So when we're talking about helping people, we want to make sure that what we're doing is actually giving, not giving handouts, but giving them hands up. What is going to really make the difference for our efforts? Because I know as volunteers, an important thing is that what you're doing means something. It's not just something to do like, I went and read to a kid, right? You want to be able to see the progress or know that what you're doing actually makes a difference. At least that's for me as a volunteer. I want to feel that. I want to see that. So how can you help? Spreading awareness, letting people know. A lot of people don't know and don't realize that we have thousands, not plural thousand, or not singular, thousands plural of kids in our county who cannot read. We're graduating kids that can't read, okay? You would be astonished to spend a day in my shoes doing intakes with kids and having them read things at the level of their literacy. You have third graders, cannot put sounds to the vowels. Sixth graders that can't form complete sentences, can't sound out words. It's bad. It's really, really bad. So spreading awareness that we have a problem. I think that's really the first step, right? Is admitting that there's a problem and that there's multiple efforts to do something about it. Volunteer. Right now we have over 100 volunteers. I have a training tonight with 16 additional volunteers. So we have a lot of volunteers. We also, the biggest need right now is the infrastructure. I'm doing this with one other paid staff person. So everyone, there's a lot of volunteers, but we need the infrastructure in our organization, which requires funding and donations and sponsorships so that we can hire other people to keep the ship running and moving. So that's a big part of what we're looking for this year is kind of deepening those roots so that we've gone really, really wide and we're able to help a lot of kids, mostly because I can't say no when a kid comes and I know a kid needs help and a parent's reaching out saying, please. It's really hard to say no. And so I've always just been of the mind, I will find a volunteer to work with your kid, no problem. But that takes infrastructure and time. And so we're looking for those businesses and personal sponsorships to keep that going. And then helping us connect with other groups that you're a part of, realtor groups, or one of the things that I've been working on is just getting businesses to, there's one company that they let their employees get online and they do for 15 minutes, they tutor a kid every day, 3:30, 3:45. The employee gets on, volunteers with a kid, gets off. And so that's just, a great way to easily give back to the community. So a little kindness makes a world of difference. Again, bringing it back to Mr. Rogers, I really thank you for all that you do in the community for Gainesville and surrounding communities. And I'm really happy to be here. And I do like to leave time for some questions. This usually stirs up a lot of questions. So, yeah. Thank you.
I'm curious how you work with the school board on identifying kids, reporting results, and your interactions there.
So I will say that is difficult, being that we've gone through so many changes with school boards, members, and superintendents. Mostly my interaction has been, I kind of have backdoored my way in, couldn't get anywhere to let me in, and so started gathering, just standing at a school school zone, just handing out flyers to parents and then kind of grab the attention inward. So, they've gone through a lot of transition. So it's been relationships with principals that have kind of gotten me like, hey, we want peak literacy to come in and do this, and then kind of formed those relationships. So typically in the two schools that we're in, they're reading specialists, identify the kids. We had to go through the county to get approval for the data to be released. A lot of forms, a lot of time, a lot of parents trying to fill out forms that they don't know to give us access to some of the scores and things like that. So when it's a school implementation, it's a little bit harder than a parent comes to me and says, hey, I signed my waiver for the school to release their FAST test scores and all that kind of stuff to me. So it's kind of just through relationships that I've formed that we form those partnerships with the schools. I'm hoping to meet with the new superintendent. We've made contact and hopefully get something more solidified along the way, because I want to do some good research with, I need 300 kids to do research at the same level, so, yes.
I'm Mary Crane, and I taught special children. Is this on? Or
yeah, you're on.
Okay. Anyhow, I taught where a student is dyslexic, so that's word blindness, and there are some signs, and of course you definitely have to test them and identify. Word blindness, there's other things like being clumsy, or they're very talkative. They could be more auditory than visual, and it's amazing the way the mind works, and if you can get them early, and our schools do, because I taught it for 32 years, so I know. And I would love to volunteer, and I'd love to see the test that you have, because it's amazing when they can learn. I had a sister that was dyslexic, and I went to her school, and I thought I was playing hooky, and then my mother got scared because where was I? And when we finished, she says, well, Mary, how do you like my school? I said, it's stupid. I was only 7. What did I know? I said, I'm reading and you're not, you're playing. And there's no time for you to play. So she switched over to my school and had to repeat and go back 2 grades. So I love it when children can read and they're 7 years old and I get them on grade level. So there are the tricks to the trade. Thank you so much for your presentation.
You're welcome. Yes. So the program we use, Great Leaps, is works with dyslexic students. That's part of why it's taught at the University of Florida, their special education program. So I cannot diagnose dyslexia, but we partner with Dr. Gallagher at UF Reading Disorders Clinic. She's done some presentations for my parents, and she's great, but it's a year wait. Just so you know, it is a year wait for a child to get a diagnosis for dyslexia in our county.
Well, you have to have a psychologist to come in, and that's what you need. And then they do this testing, and then I see exactly where I need to begin. Okay, working together.
Yes, that's part of it, right?
First of all, thanks for what you do.
Thanks.
I was curious about the age of the kids that you're working with. There seem to be a lot of ages, and how young do you start, and what's kind of the breakdown with the current group that you're working with?
So ideally, my sweet spot is middle schoolers, because, in my personal opinion, is that that's where you start to see, that's where you start to see them really disengage in school, because they can't do anything. If you can't read, everything is inaccessible for you. I kind of, what I spoke about before, kind of having to go where the connections are. The elementary schools, because of the way that they're set up, that's what they're doing, is they're focusing on reading. The middle schools and high schools don't have as much of that focus time, so it's a little bit harder to initiate in school. So typically 3rd grade and up, but we do take some 1st and 2nd graders that are really, really behind. Mostly kids, I would say our average age right now, like last year it was our average age was about 6th grade. Now it's going lower because we have the 2 school implementations. And so that's kind of skewing our numbers to work with like kind of third graders at the two schools. And then at Pine Ridge Community, those kids, we have 4 middle schoolers at Pine Ridge, and then the rest are between K through 5 over there. That's the 75, we onboarded 75 kids last Monday. So that's why I'm still swimming in numbers, but I mostly would say from like second till like 8th grade is kind of where we typically end up.
I have a question from Zoom.
Yes.
Jenny asks, have you considered a pay what you can model to assist with expenses?
Yes, we do. Our parents, we ask for them to pay what they can. Yep.
I have a question. You mentioned that you have an infrastructure challenge that you'd like to overcome. If you were able to meet that challenge, what would that look like in a year's time? And then again, if you were to look at your goals, what would your goals be for, say, for 3 years' time?
Oh man, I tend to think big. I mean, right now we have another group that we've worked down with at Homestead, Florida. I think this model is very scalable, right? We're in the process of, so my mission is, teaching kids to read, right? But we've talked about trying to change that mission a little bit because it really, my mission is bringing communities together to solve the illiteracy crisis because we don't function in a bubble. And so that's really kind of more along the lines of what I want to do is, where are you? Where is your village? Let me help you because the tool can be used multiple different ways. Let me help you start it in your little after school. Let me help you start it here and I'll train your volunteers and you do it this way. It can be done a million different ways. The tool's the same, we know it works. Let's just use it however you can. Part of the work study, part of my vision for work study, which we just got approved, was that we wouldn't use the work study students to pay tutors, but we would use the work study students as kind of pods to be in charge of like a group of 10 volunteers and 10 students. But what I really would like is a funded position for public school implementation, after school implementation, and then online implementation. There would be 3 different positions. That's my 3-year goal. Really, I hope to do it this year is that I'm able to hire 3 people to be those implementation people for the different avenues that we grow in that way. Yes.
Thank you, Leah, for your presentation and for taking on this huge challenge that we have in not only in our community but across the country. I wonder if you have been able to have support from the faith community around our county, if they provide volunteers, if they provide space, and how that might be helpful to the program.
So not as, again, not as like a group that said, hey, I want to, do something like this. Obviously with 120 volunteers, I've got people in all walks of life from churches. At Pine Ridge, evidently there's been a synagogue that's worked out there for years before I got there. And I walked in on Monday and they're like, we're so glad you're here. Like they need that kind of leadership and infrastructure to say, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we do it and go, and my hope is that it is a phase out model that I come in, I show you how to do it, recruit the volunteers, and then I leave, and then you go do that and I can go help somebody else with their implementation. So again, whether that's church or wherever, I don't really care what you do or where you are. The Unitarian Church, they were the ones that originally got me in Pine Ridge, and now anywhere, anyone. I'm open to work with anybody that wants to help kids.
Hi there. It's not 1 o'clock yet, so am I next?
You're next, Pete.
Okay. This is a cultural question. I just want an overview, don't point fingers at anybody.
Okay.
I went to Kirby Smith and we all learned to read there. So what's happened over that period of time that we don't learn to read in school anymore?
That is a good question. I don't know that I'm particularly qualified to answer that, but I will give you my opinion. The testing, and there's some really interesting talks on this, and there's a really great podcast called Sold a Story that is phenomenal about kind of why we're in the crisis we are with reading in kids. So I would direct you to listen. Very interesting. But there's some other really interesting TED Talks about the amount of testing that we do for our kids. And so these tests take a lot of work. There's some equity questions involved about the test taking skills. And so a lot of the efforts in school center around teaching to things that they are graded on in metrics, right? I have very high regard for teachers. I go into a school for a couple hours and I walk out and I need a nap, like for 2 hours. I don't know how they do it. It is very difficult. And most of these teachers, when they call me and say, like, Leah, I have a kid, like, they just can't get to it in the school day. They can't give that individual instruction. You have a group of, think about, you're a fourth grade teacher and you come and maybe the kid's been held back a couple times, maybe a whole group of kids been held back. They can't be held back again. They're just pushed on. They don't know what they're doing. Then you have another group that can read. It's very complicated and it's really difficult. And so that's why I think it's really important we come alongside and say, I really don't know the reason, or I don't really know how to fix it. I hope that I can be part of that solution, but I know we have a solution that works. So let's just take this pressure off of kids. It's almost like CPR. How many of you are CPR certified? Yeah, okay, I've been getting mine for the past 30 years, right? You go to a training every 2 years or you re-up your certification, and then you know how to give life-saving care to a kid. It's the same thing that I'm doing here. I have a solution, I have a CPR solution that I can train you in an hour and a half, and you're able to teach a kid to read. It's the easiest thing ever. It's scripted for you, and it works. So if we have the opportunity to just train a lot of people to give life-saving care to these kids, which makes a difference for all of us in this room and for all of them, then why not use it? Super simple, 15 minutes a day.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. Good presentation.
And I'll stick around too. I'm here for as long as you want.
Okay, my question is regard to student with disabilities. So does your curriculum accommodate, as you know, we learn differently? And if it accommodate people with a student with disabilities, do you try to align that up with your volunteers?
Yes, good question. So about 40% of our students have some diagnosed disability. A lot of it, we have, dyslexia, a lot of ADHD, which is not surprising because it's really hard to read when you can't sit still. So we do, and on occasion, one of the slides that I didn't show was a child that is a child with autism, and he made huge gains on our reading program because a child with autism, again, the lessons are short, not because we don't have enough time, but because kids' attention spans are 12 minutes. So you make the intervention within their attention span, you get the best of the best for that 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and they're done. And so they agree to do the lessons. But it also works with students English as a second language. So that's why I picked Great Leaps, because it works with kids with disabilities, kids without disabilities, English language learners. I have started pairing my volunteers that speak the same language as my English language learners together for better communication, and for when we do the comprehension questions, they can speak those in their own language. It makes that connection really special for the student and for the volunteer. So we pair that together, and I also have started pairing the volunteers who have shared with me that they have autism. I try to pair them together because they have a good understanding of each other. So yes, thanks. Thank you so much for having me.
Leah, thank you so much. In honor of you speaking with us today, we'd like to make a donation to the Child Center for Early Learning. They're our beneficiary this year for our speakers. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. Really appreciate what you do for our community. The speaker next week will be Tia Brock-Paul with the Education Foundation. The quote for the week, one of my favorite Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. quotes, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." The Rotary Reading Safari drawing number is 197. And with that, the meeting is adjourned.